Hey, this is Wanda Vitale, and I am the founder of the Empowered Empaths and started this group last year, Ditch the Doubt and Dance with Creation. Today, I want to talk about inner child healing. And you may or may not agree with me on this, but this is what I see. I see so many people just really not doing any healing, but doing things like this is what I hear: purging, releasing, focusing on that inner child. So here's what I want to say: who you are is multidimensional, which means past, present, and future are right now. And everything we focus on, even when it's in the past, we bring it into our now moment and it impacts us. So, in who you are, so what I also see is that so many people you're living as your inner child, and you are not your inner child. You know, the trauma that you remember is just that, it's a memory. We cannot say that it didn't happen because it did, but what we can do is go in and, with revision, change the memory in your subconscious so that it doesn't impact you anymore. So when you talk about your purging, your inner child is this and that, what you're really saying is, I am aware that I am feeling something, right? You're aware that you're feeling something. And most of you chalk it up to some trauma that you've had in the past. But here's what you're doing. You're not your 3-year-old anymore. You are the wise, compassionate adult. And so you have the ability, instead of focusing on what went wrong, focusing on the pain, attributing everything in your life to the trauma, you have the ability to revise the memory, because that's really what's impacting you or all of us. It's the memories that impact us. So we can go back and go into the memory as the kind, loving, compassionate adult, right? That you didn't have, that none of us had, because as empaths, I have yet to meet someone who I have just yet to meet an empath who did not front load trauma or some kind of trauma. My version of trauma was neglect. So as long as you are purging, just get this. If you think you have to purge, what you're doing is focusing on the memory. Quantum physics tells us, and the law of assumption tells us, that whatever we focus on, we get more of. So for all the time that you spend focusing on, thinking you have to heal, thinking you have to purge, going back into those memories, you are bringing that past event and that past memory into your now, and it affects you now. There are just so many people that spend their entire lives thinking they have to heal their inner child. No, I hope this makes sense. I'm on StreamYard, so I can't see comments. We are the wise, compassionate adults that we didn't have. So when you get triggered and you attribute it to your some memory from the past, we can go in and experience the trigger and then create a pattern disruptor, which is, wait a minute, that's not me. I'm not 2 anymore. That's not me. It disrupts that old neural pattern that you think you have to heal. There really is no such thing as healing. We change the memory. We just go back in and change the memory. That's all we ever do. And it does not take years. Some of you have heard me share my own story. When I was, I don't know, I don't even know if I was 2 years old. I was just a baby, and I would cry at night because I've always seen things, and I was afraid of the dark. And my father, who was a very angry person, came into the bedroom and said, "I'll give you something to cry about," and put me outside in the night, locked the door. I grew up where there were no night lights, in the middle of nowhere on a farm. And so it was very traumatic for me, very traumatic. But instead of thinking I have to go in and heal and purge and do something to that child, what I did was go in and revise the memory of it. And it's a Neville Goddard technique where we literally go in and pick a new outcome, pick a different outcome. So I imagined, instead of what did happen, I came up with a scene where my mother and father both came into me and hugged me and said, "Oh, honey, it's going to be all right." I went to sleep with that imaginal scene for 3 nights in a row. When we're in, just before we go to sleep, we're in theta state. When everything that we say or think goes straight into the subconscious says, "Must be true," puts it on autopilot. With that very traumatic memory, I went to sleep with a new outcome that I made up, did it for 3 nights. On the 4th day, I revisited the original memory and I had no charge around it, none. Because we can't believe 2 different things on the same topic, right? We can't believe 2 differing things, 2 different beliefs on the same topic. I had revised the memory. And so what was in my subconscious is I was loved, I was taken care of, and I had no charge around the old one. So, you know, we don't have to spend years on healing these memories. We just revise them. Whatever we experience with intense emotions, the subconscious says must be true. And so, and that we put them in our subconscious, it runs our lives. We have that. For me, it's, one of the reasons that fear controlled my life, most of my life. I was always afraid. No wonder. And I know some of you are the same because you've had very similar childhoods. But I just see that so many people are languishing in healing, purging, trying to feel better. And when it's really just stopping you from being present in the moment, living a life of freedom, and living the kind of life that you want. So, we really don't heal. We change a memory. We become the adult to that child who's afraid. So when you're triggered, if something triggers you from your childhood and you get triggered, that's your inner child. But instead of going there with it and indulging in it, the thing to do is to say, that's not me. I'm not 2 anymore. Nobody's doing anything to me. Wait a minute. I'm the adult. I know how to take care of myself. And that's how we create new patterns in our brain. And that's how we heal or get away from this idea that we have to spend years doing something. All we ever do is change our memory. And the other thing that I want to remind you all is that you're multidimensional. What we remember is one possible potential from an event in the past. And I just talked with someone yesterday or in the last couple of days. If you had siblings, you could have probably said to them, don't you remember when blah, blah happened? And your siblings probably said, I don't remember that. This is what I remember. And that's what I mean. You are multidimensional. There are infinite, for any past event, there's what you remember, and there are infinite potentials of how you could have remembered it, but you chose one. So, because everything exists, you're infinite. You're sitting at the center of infinity, choosing where you put your attention. So, when it comes to the past, realize what you remember is one potential. You could have been like some of these little ones that are coming in now that remember other timelines. Those are the same, other potentials. They might see or they might experience the same kind of event and see it completely differently through the lens of another timeline. That's what I'm talking about. So we get to choose where we put our attention. And if you're always putting your attention on your painful past, you bring that into now. And you bring that pain into now, and you create more of the same. You can imagine anything. Your subconscious doesn't know what's past or present or future. This is why I'm always talking about imagination creates reality. Your subconscious doesn't know. You can imagine anything. It doesn't mean your past didn't exist. But when we imagine a different outcome, it changes what is recorded in your subconscious, and it immediately changes your perception of the past. It rewrites your present, and it rewrites future potentials. So, we can do the same thing with anything in our past. If you've always been, I don't know, I'm just going to pick something. If you think nobody's ever loved you because that's what you experienced in the past, nothing but pain and misery, because if that's your story, nobody's ever loved me, then go in and revise that. Create an imaginal scene where you were loved. You were loved because you exist in multiple dimensions all at once. You're only aware of the one that you're aware of. But just like a dream at night, we have dreams at night, and we're focused on different potentials, different realities. You can do it when you're conscious. So go in and imagine a different scene where you are loved, where you are chosen. That's the one that I always say. For me, is part of my identity. I am chosen because I was never chosen. Rewrite your past with a new imaginal scene. It changes what you bring forward into now, and it changes a future it changes future potentials. One where you are chosen, one where you are loved. So I hope this makes sense. Listen, we've only got this one precious life. And I'm here to tell you that it can be amazing that we're making it all up. Our awareness, whatever you're aware of is what is creating your reality. So if you are aware of pain and misery, and if you are your inner child, that's what you're going to get more of. And is it worth it? Is it worth it? Or is it time to say, I am that I am. I am the wise adult to my child. I love her. Him or her. I will never abandon you. I am there for you. Always. You're always with me. And no matter what happens, you're safe because I'm the adult. I'm in charge now. That's what I want you to really start to look at, and stop being your inner child. You're not that. You're not your inner child. And start imagine your past the way you wanted it to be. Imagine your future the way you want it to be. Imagine each present moment the way you want it to be. Because imagination and awareness create reality. That's why we're here, to look at the world and say, this would be better. Oh, this would be better. I'm going to imagine this. Go directly to what you want and stay there and let life conform to your assumptions and beliefs. And befriend that inner child and realize that inner child is not you. It's not you. And with that, I'll leave you. Thanks for